What's good, YouTube? This your boy Sippi King, back with another video. On this video, I want to talk about every university in Mississippi has a history of violence. And I'm doing this video based off the Trey Reed case to paint a picture for everybody to fully understand that these colleges aren't trustworthy. These colleges are racist. These colleges and universities in Mississippi all have a racial history. They don't want black people in their colleges or attending their colleges or universities. And that goes from community colleges to universities. You know what I'm saying? My personal advice to parents is to stop sending your kids to these universities, because these universities don't like you or they don't like your kids. They don't want your kind in their institution. But anyway, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna read this article about the 1962 integration riot, which took place at Ole Miss, you know what I mean, which is the University of Mississippi and Oxford, Mississippi. And this article is real. Like this is historic. This needs to be heard. This needs to be understood, that these people don't want your kids in their college. So quit pushing your kids, quit putting pressure on your kids to go to these freaking universities, because they don't want your kids there. But anyway, here goes the article. 1962 integration riot. The event took place on September the 30th of 1962. A violent riot erupted on the Oxford campus in response to the enrollment of James Meredith, the university's first black student. A mob of segregationists, including students and other civilians, confronted the U.S. Marshals who were protecting Meredith. Casualties and outcome. This is the casualties. The confrontation lasted for 15 hours straight and was only quelled by the arrival of federal troops ordered by President John F. Kennedy. 2 civilians were killed, more than 300 people were injured, and hundreds were arrested. That's for real. And this happened in 1962. And by James Meredith being the first black student being admitted at the University of Ole Miss, the fact that it took a council to vote him to be accepted into that college. But he had to walk around college and go to class with security around him 24 hours a day, protecting him and watching his back for his best interest. And I can imagine how that feeling was. Like, that had to be a tense feeling. Like, you have to go through all of that just to get an education. Like, if that was me, I would never did it. I wouldn't want to be in that. I wouldn't want to be in no environment where I am uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I would went elsewhere. That's just me. But he had a heart of a lion. He did it. And we talking about James Meredith, the first black man to attend the University of Ole Miss. But Ole Miss, the University of Mississippi, has a history of racism and white supremacy. And the location is Oxford, Mississippi. You know what I mean? But the University of Ole Miss has a history of racism. Even they still racist to this day. That's why I don't understand why these black young brothers are attending Ole Miss. You are attending an institution who dislike your skin color. They don't like me, you, or the next person. And the most recent event happened in May of last year, which is May of 2024. The university investigated reports of racist, hostile behavior by counter protesters during a pro-Palestinian demonstration. Students were accused of making monkey sounds and racist taunts. See what I'm saying? These colleges right now still are racist, man. And they go to Delta State University, has a history of racism. Jackson State University has a history of racism. And Mississippi State University, which is in Starkville, has a tremendous amount of racist history. You know what I'm saying? I don't fool with these colleges. Yeah, I like sports. I watch me some college football all day. But as far as me supporting them, these universities, or hanging out at these universities, I would never do it because they don't like me on the strength that I am a black man. They hate this skin color. They don't want us in their institutions. They don't want us to get an education. That's why it's so important for these black colleges to invest more money into their own people. It's best to go to a community college or a black college, if anything, because these major universities, these institutions was built on slavery, to be honest with you, and that's real talk. But I'm finna go and talk about this Jackson State shootings that took place in 1970, right? On May the 14th, 1970, city and state police fired on black students at Jackson State College, now which is called Jackson State University, JSU, during protests against racism and the Vietnam War. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't, back in 1970, that's right after the Civil Rights Movement. And Jackson State, that university was created by a white man. But it just so happened to be a predominant black college up till this day. But back then, you had whites at Jackson State University, which you still do now, but it's more blacks at that college than it is whites. But back then, it was more whites than blacks. Just to sum it up. And back then, Jackson State University was like the center point of all this racial hostility. But during that riot, the black students was trying to fight for their rights. And state police, by them being racist, that's why I told y'all in multiple videos, the police cannot be trusted. Like, the police is corrupted. The police, you can't depend on them. You're not safe from them. Not in the state of Mississippi. In the state of Mississippi, they are racist. 90-something% of the police department in Mississippi is racist. They are Klansmen. They are a part of white supremacy. And those facts. But the results from that riot, police fired over 400 rounds into a women's dormitory, killing 2 students, Philip Gibbs and James Green, and injuring 12 others. The Jackson State killings received significantly less national attention than a similar incident at Kent State University 10 days earlier, highlighting racial disparities. And see, by me reading that to you, Kent State University is a predominant white college. And back in that incident that happened at Kent State didn't have anything to do with a black individual. But since at the white college, when the shootings took place at Kent State, that incident made it to CBS, NBC News. But when it came down to the incident that took place in 1970 on Jackson State University pertaining to the black students and the police, that didn't make it to the news. It didn't make the news. Nobody talked about it. Nobody stressed the issue at all. And basically nothing was done about the situation. 2 black people, 2 black brothers were killed. Nothing, no justice, no nothing was done. Basically, the police that killed the 2 black brothers in the women's dormitory, they got away with the homicide. And the only thing these brothers were doing was trying to protest and fight for our rights. Their rights. That part. And then that goes to show you how the state of Mississippi is law enforcement. Especially with this Delta State University incident. Now I'm painting you a picture. I hope everybody watching fully understand where I'm coming from. That's why we have to step our foot down on these people. You guys have to step your foot down on these people, especially because you still live in Mississippi. I don't. I'm just from there. But I'm speaking out because I'm taking up for my people.